start!
Hello, welcome back. I guess welcome back for me as well. It's been a really long time since I've been online, and I know that, and I always say that when I come back online. But quickly, the reason why I was offline on YouTube and Instagram, if you noticed, if you follow me on Instagram, I don't exist on Instagram anymore. Or I'll get into that in a second, but basically what happened, there's a period of time like a couple months ago where I was going through kind of a rough period in my personal life, so I thought I would take a step back from social media and YouTube and everything, as people do, you know. But I made a mistake, a really, really bad mistake. I accidentally deleted my Instagram entirely instead of deactivating it. And that sucks because like I realized very shortly after, I kind of remembered shortly after that, my social media is a large portion of my business. So that sucks, but it also means that maybe the plus side of this is that I have to produce online somewhere. And I realize that I still have a following on YouTube to some degree. Whoever's watching this, I appreciate you. And if nothing else, this is like the best I can do right now. So I am trying to rebuild my Instagram. If you want to follow me, I will put my Instagram down below. It's just my name, Tyler Yasuda. Very simple. It's very much the same thing. I'm trying to focus a little bit more on informational posts because I feel like a lot of stuff I was posting before was useless anyway. So I'm trying harder at that to hopefully produce more value and encourage more people to follow. But as far as YouTube goes, I will be back online producing at least once a week. And in case you guys haven't watched in a while, my basic format right now, as far as I can see into the future right now, is going to be most of my scheduled videos will follow this similar outline of, in the beginning, we'll have a quick intro like this. This one might be a little bit longer, but a quick intro followed by some sort of tutorial, whether it has to do with technique, nutrition, or something else. We'll have some informational portion in the beginning. We'll follow that up with a training update from my training, and then last we'll finish up with some sort of, I don't know, philosophy on life or something random like that. But kind of in order of importance. You know, most people come here to watch and to learn, hopefully, and then some people care about my training, and then, you know, a small portion of people care about my thoughts on life. So we'll go in that order every video. But anyway, before I get into the video, the technique stuff in this video, I wanted to just say really quickly, if you want to follow me, I'll put that down below like I said. And also, just a reminder for all you guys who don't follow me online anyway, or just watch these videos, I do still offer coaching full-time. The way that works is everybody who's on my team will sign on, we'll have a meeting in person, or I guess it's technically online. We'll have a video call every single week. I'll set up your training program, your nutrition program, all fully custom for you. We'll make any adjustments that we need to on a weekly basis. You'll have full access to me via email 24/7 as often as you need. We'll go through your technique analysis. We'll figure out what we need to change with your lifts to make them both more effective, safe, and efficient. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure you're making progress. And one really big strength of mine, I would say, and especially in the past few years, is trying to figure out how to make people's training and nutrition work with their lifestyle, not the other way around. I feel like a lot of people think that my job as a coach is to tell you that you need to train harder or train more or diet better, etc. And sometimes that's true, but more often than not, I think it works better if we can work together to figure out what structure is best for you to follow, or is most feasible for you to follow to produce reliable results for a very long time, rather than just pushing unreasonably hard for a short period of time and getting you like, you know, a month of results before you fall off. But anyway, if you're interested in working with me for online coaching, or if you have any questions about that, you can shoot me an email at the address down below in the description, or I'll put it on the screen here as well, or you can DM me on Instagram. Either way works. If you are seriously interested, we will hop on a video call, kind of learn a little bit more about each other and see if that's a good fit, and we'll go from there. But without further ado, let's get into the video. We'll talk about bench technique. So before I can get into the drill that I'm going to demonstrate, we have to talk about the principle behind the drill. There's a principle in your bench press or any pressing movement called joint stacking. Basically just describes the idea that in order for you to press most efficiently, we want to keep your joints kind of in a single line. A really easy way to visualize this is, imagine if this stick here, this dowel, were just like a column, something that we're going to use to like support a structure. If I were to leave it vertical here, it's on my hand right now, so this is kind of a bad example, but imagine my hand were perfectly flat. I could leave it like this and it would stay balanced without me producing any force in any direction, right? It stays balanced there. It doesn't fall over in either direction because it's all stacked on top of itself. Its own center of mass is over what we would consider its axis of rotation. As long as that's true, there's no force requirement left or right, front or backward this way. However, if I were to lean this column over, let's say a few degrees over this way, unless I produce force with this hand here to support it, that stick is gonna fall over. And that's true in any direction, right? Any direction I lean it, the more I lean it over, the more it wants to fall over. The same thing is true in your bench press. So if we take a look, imagine I'm flat on a bench. The idea would be, I would like to at all times have a vertical line going from my bar, which should be roughly over my wrist, to my elbow, to my shoulder. At least when I'm starting. As I come down with that bar, I do want to maintain a straight line between my bar, wrist, and elbow. So it might look like this. And the entire time as I press up, same thing. You'll notice that that line kind of breaks with my shoulder. Out of necessity, I can't really press in this plane without screwing up my shoulders, so we will have a little bit of translation across our chest this way. But otherwise, we do have that straight line being maintained roughly through our bar, wrist, and elbow at all times. If I were to have that line leaning back like this, where the bar is leaning toward my face, that bar does want to kind of fall over toward my face this way. And that means I'd have to produce extra force with my triceps to kind of press out, almost like a JM press. On the opposite side, if I were to let that bar pass my elbows in this direction toward my hips, that now means I have the tendency is going to be that the bar wants to fall over in that direction toward my hips. So I would have to produce rotational torque at my shoulder, this rotation, to prevent that bar from just falling over like this as I press out. So ideally, we want to be roughly in this position where our bar is always directly over our elbow. So what we have to do is figure out a way for you to feel what proper joint stacking feels like at any point in your range of motion, which is where this drill, what I call the bar drift drill, comes from. And we'll cut over to the other video clip. So when I'm performing this drill, I'll set up as I normally would from a bench. Everything is exactly the same. In this case, I'm not using any weight, but I would encourage you to load up some amount of weight so you can actually feel what's happening. I will, at the top position, let that bar drift forward and back a bunch of times until I kind of find where center is. There will be a point at center where that bar feels balanced. I'll stop there and then I'll continue down halfway. Same thing, drifting forward and back with my elbow until I find center. Once I find center, I will come down just above my chest, maybe a ½ inch above my chest. And same thing, drift forward and back until I find center. And then I will establish center and press up. And then rinse and repeat. So just for some practice, if you watch through, this was actually one of my working sets this day. Try to see if you can't tell where I'm missing joint stacking. So watch this through. Comment below if you want to pause this video and comment what you think I'm messing up. But I'll tell you in a few seconds here. At the top of every press, you'll notice that I am like kind of soft with my lockout, and that causes me to have that bar way in front of my shoulder, kind of in the direction of my hips. So I should have got that bar further back over my shoulder to establish full stacking at the top. And on the way down, joint stacking is actually pretty decent. In these later reps, you'll see that that bar, that last one especially, just passed my elbow and caused me to struggle a lot as I got cut off my chest. Hopefully pretty simple, that bar drift drill. Just to reiterate, you'll take whatever amount of weight you feel comfortable with, but keep in mind, lighter weights will have to drift a lot farther in order to actually feel like you're pulling in either direction. Heavier weights, you'll have like a really small drift back and forward. So you make your choice, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you can be safe with. But that drill is basically gonna be at the top. You're gonna drift forward and backward until you find center. Once you find center, you'll pause for a moment, come down halfway, drift forward and back until you can find center over your elbow. Once you're there, stop, come down just above your chest, drift forward and back until you find center, stop at center, and press up. Then you rinse and repeat as many times as necessary. I generally don't prescribe more than 3 reps per set because that whole sequence takes a really long time, it takes a lot of endurance. And I wouldn't use it as like a working variation that you're not like trying to accumulate more stimulus. You're really just doing that to figure out how it feels to be perfectly stacked and then carry that over into your main bench press sets. So you might consider doing that as part of your warm-up scheme rather than actual working sets. So this footage here, this is kind of a long overdue training update because this is from a couple months ago. But this is Christine's bench press. She's actually been doing really well in training. She is very much like built for powerlifting. She has great proportions for the sport if she decides to pursue it. But right now she's just trying to get stronger. You can take a look at her bench press. She does a pretty good job with joint stacking, and in this case, in this session, really good job with tempo control. Around this time, she and I were both preparing to test maxes with some of our friends. I was only going to test my front squat max, which you'll see here. I want to say this was one of my working sets, like my second out of 3 working sets. This was at like 380, 90 something. Then my next set after this, I believe, is going to be in the low 400-pound range. The first clip that you saw in the very beginning of this video, as well as the last clip you'll see in this update, is going to be of what was eventually my top attempt on that max testing day. So I believe this weight here was like 430, or maybe a little over 430 for a double or so. So as you watch this, in case you're interested in where my training's gone since then, I had this original goal of front squatting 405, and I blew way past that as I got ready to test my maxes. And I'm really, really happy with the results of all that. Really, really enjoyed front squatting while I did it, but I wanted to transition back to back squatting. So the past cycle and a half or so, I have been high bar back squatting without a belt. And I plan to, after this current cycle is done, I will go to high bar squatting with the belt, and then eventually low bar squatting beltless, and then low bar squatting with the belt. The goal is, based on the number I hit in my front squat, I would like to see a 500 high bar squat before I transition into my low bar squats again. And then low bar, I like to hit like 550 or a high 5 somewhere. And that would be a huge all-time best for me at any body weight. Here you have Christine. I think this was her top attempt on her bench press. That might have been like 115, I believe. Yeah, that's 115 successfully. She tried another weight after that, but her technique kind of fell apart. And here I believe this is 265. Which is her all-time best. Technique was actually really clean. I was really proud of her for that one. And it looked like she had way more left in her. So we took her for, I think we went all the way up to 260 or 275, sorry. And man, this was so, so close. Like all of us at the gym were rooting for her so hard, but you can see as she got to her knee, she just didn't have it in her. This was actually her second try at 275 as well, so she failed that twice, but very, very close. And here you see, I believe I was taking somewhere in like the 420 range or 415-ish. And I apologize, I don't remember exactly what the weights were. I might put them up on the screen anyway if I can go back through my program, but really happy with how that went. That felt super easy. I think in this case, environment played a huge role, like having my buddies around me training and being at my favorite gym, Olympus, helped a lot. It's not that I can't train hard in other gyms, it's just that I'm so much more comfortable here. I believe this was 440 something, like 445 or 444 on the bar here. And again, about as clean as a front squat could be for me. So my top attempt, or my last attempt here was 465, which is the top option I had on my list for that day. I didn't think that would be a reasonable number going into the session. I just had it there just in case I felt phenomenal, and I truly did. And 465 is kind of a number that's, I mean, it seems so far off in the beginning of this whole progression with my front squat, but if I could hit this, I would be super stoked about it. If I missed, I would kind of understand that, you know, it is a very, very heavy number that I very likely had a small chance of hitting anyway. But here we go. As you can see, that transition was so sloppy and that ascent was way harder than it had to be, but I was able to grind it out and finish the lift just fine. More recently in training, the plan was to go through one full cycle of beltless high bar squats along with normal bench training, and I am deadlifting normally again as well. But that was kind of thrown off track a little bit. Christine and I took a short vacation. We went to Disneyland actually, which was a ton of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't film any of it, sorry. But it was a ton of fun. It's just that in order for me to take time off, I took like 4 days off. In order for me to take that time off, I did have to work a ton in the days before and days after. So I ended up being out of training for like probably the greater part of 2 weeks. And I decided, this is very recently, I decided to reset my training cycle to start over because I don't think it would be reasonable for me to hop back in the middle of a training cycle. But since then, training's been going really well this week. I'm excited to see where that goes in the next few weeks as well, as I get back into it fully and start getting toward that portion of my cycle where I'm really overreaching. But before I close this video out, I did want to talk a little bit about, I guess, life stuff as we do, or as I do in these videos. One thing that I think, and just keep in mind, guys, like when I'm talking about this stuff, a lot of the times it's like just as much a reminder to me as it is like me preaching to you. But in that time, like a few months ago when I was going through kind of a rough period and I decided to hop off of social media and everything, I think something that I failed to realize and I failed to be, hold myself accountable for is like, in general, like as an adult, as a functioning adult, I think that there will be many times when things aren't going the way you want them to, like life in general kind of kicks you in the ass, and it'll be tempting to say, okay, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to do whatever I'm supposed to do on my long list of obligations, right? But that's not really excusable in many cases. I feel like for me, because I run my own businesses and I have so much freedom and flexibility in my scheduling and my work, it's too easy sometimes for me to say, I'll just do this later. I'll push YouTube, right, to the back burner. I just won't do it for now. But that's kind of immature, and I don't think it's really the way to go about it. I think that it's important to be able to adapt, even when things don't go your way, to be able to adapt and do whatever you can in that moment. It might not be your full capacity of work or your full capability, but it should still be something. You should never get to a point where you just decide you're not going to do anything, because if you lose all of your momentum, if you get used to doing nothing, it becomes so hard to get back into it. That's kind of where I was a little while ago. So on that note, I will be back into YouTube stuff fully. Hopefully you'll see this upload, and then very shortly after that another one in the next week. If you guys have any ideas for videos or anything that you want me to talk about, shoot me a comment down below and we'll figure that out, or I'll make a new video about it very shortly after. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.